But Sri Aurobindo explains that there are two different kinds of unity which could take place. There's one unity where there will be an attempt to create a one world government which will beat down national identities and distinctive cultures, communities, and even individuality. Crush humanity into this homogeneous mass to have a successful one world government rule. It is against the fulfillment of nature's purpose and the divine purpose. For the divine, the individual is as important as the collective. And the fulfillment of the collective is as important as the fulfillment of the individual. Aligning these two is the challenge. But if for the purpose of world peace or world unity, we crush, then we have actually undone the millennia of effort that nature has put in developing these distinct identities and organizing them into groups and subgroups. And Sri Aurobindo warns against this. And so we come to a very important idea. In this transition of evolution, the means given to us are also commensurate with the demand of the evolution. Taking up all of human nature and lifting it into a new level of consciousness, but by means which are also commensurate to the nature of the new consciousness. Joy to greater joy, light to greater light. Fulfillment to greater fulfillment. This, put in the context of the larger human evolution, has a very important implication in the larger international relations. And I want to touch upon this because it is something we must be aware of. The journey of human evolution began with individuals, brought together by nature into collectives of family, into tribes, into communities, and even nationalities, and then uniting into a larger humanity, and eventually beyond that into even a universality with the universe and all other planets and galaxies. But we are at this transition where the nationality is being formed, not yet complete, but also an international, global, collective humanity is developing, and a sense of it is developing, accelerated because of the action of the supramental consciousness. But Sri Aurobindo explains that there are two different kinds of unity which could take place. And now you'll understand the difference between the integral approach and the ascetic approach. There's one unity where there will be an attempt to create a one world government which will beat down national identities and distinctive cultures, communities, and even individuality. Crush humanity into this homogeneous mass to have a successful one world government rule. It is against the fulfillment of nature's purpose and the divine purpose. For the divine, the individual is as important as the collective. And the fulfillment of the collective is as important as the fulfillment of the individual. Aligning these two is the challenge. But if for the purpose of world peace or world unity, we crush, then we have actually undone the millennia of effort that nature has put in developing these distinct identities and organizing them into groups and subgroups. And Sri Aurobindo warns against this. But he says the attempt will be made. And if it is successful, that crushing influence of the one world government will reset the whole process, throw you back to the beginning of what was a few thousand years ago, and the entire cycle will have to start all over again. The effort to do this today is so strong, so compelling, and it goes back nearly 20 years. When they began to speak openly of a new world order, they meant by that this crushing, homogenized humanity under one government, one world government, one world bank, one world court, etc. Uniformity. It's extremely dangerous. Fortunately, today you see also the reversal of it. And it's recently come up in the last 2 years particularly, where nationalities are stating our interest first. And we will not give in to internationalism compromising our national interest. It takes various forms, sometimes egoistic forms of the nation, but still the correction is necessary. And we must recognize the value of this. Just as an individual has to follow his own particular approach to the yoga beginning from where you are, the collective also has its own unique approach and its unique gift to the world, which cannot be homogenized and crushed. And you see the difference between the ascetic and the integral path, the same principle now operative at the level of international organization. And now with this perspective, when you begin to look at the news, you will understand that many things which are presented to you as wrong and dangerous in the globalized world are actually perhaps good, even if the form in which it is expressed may appear to be egoistic or divisive. They are corrective tendencies for nationalities to recover their individual identity and grow in their unique approach and way needed, and integrate with the world without losing their individuality. We come therefore to the alignment of these three great terms: the individual, the collective, and the transcendent. Well, I'll broaden the collective now into the universal. And we come to a very interesting insight that Sri Aurobindo gives. The transcendence is where all infinite potential is held, which pours down into the universe to unfold itself. But the universe, in space and time, is too small to hold it all. And so there's an unfolding over time and across space, and a creation of little islands of cultures, values, experiences, consciousness types. As you see on Earth, communities or cultures or national identities and types. It's across the universe, across galaxies which have different types, across planets which have different types, and so on. But still, to be able to enjoy that, each of those, as if it is the whole world, as if it is the whole universe, you need to have an individual that gets inside that little island and experiences the island as its only reality. And so the divine puts himself out into these innumerable individualities, each of which can experience the full island of an experience as if it's the whole universe. And each individual, interestingly, can have his own experience of reality. If this were not, then the transcendence could not play out the full possibilities of all its facets. And so within an individual is also the possibility to experience extinction from the world. You step out of the whole evolution and now the world is gone to you. But to the world, oh, there's still that fellow there. Look at anybody who has attained true moksha and nirvana and self-extinction in history. He's gone. Or to him the world is gone if he's still there. But to you, you still have the trace. The fellow was there, he did this, and then this day he attained nirvana. Right? So the world still continues. You may experience extinction. Or you may say, in my consciousness now, I live in the bliss, the world is extinguished. What does the world say? Oh, here's the person living in bliss. The world is not really gone. So what you recognize is the world is as real as the divine, but the world is so formed that it allows each individual to experience reality as if that part of the experience, that aspect of the experience was the only truth. Each individual has his own relationship with the divine, uniquely unfolding and developing, but the universe is so beautiful that it allows each one to have that, and for each one of us to meet with our unique relation and share our unique relation. And when we are fully awakened, to blissfully share in our blissful experiences of the divine in all its facets. That's the true sense of the divine humanity and the divine revelation in form. And so the individual has a unique place, extremely important, but the universe also, and the universality of your consciousness to know the whole from your unique perspective and from all perspectives is also a necessary requirement for us to be able to align and play out the true harmony. But all of this has to then be an expression of the transcendence from which infinite possibilities more have to unfold. What we have experienced is only the beginning of the true play. Sri Aurobindo puts it in this way: the billions of years of struggle that have brought us to where we are, and the suffering of billions of people across billions of lives, all of this would be pointless if the goal to which we have to move was not worth it. And so he puts it this way: the goal that we are moving towards, the full revelation of the divine bliss, is something so wonderful, so far beyond even our conception, that all these billions of years of struggle would be justified and would be worth it. To the soul that enters the journey, that's what we are working towards, for which this is the preparatory movement that brings us to that experience. And for this, the integral yoga is the means given to us in this step of evolution that actually completes the journey into a full divine awakening and a complete liberation from all ignorance. The nature of evolution itself undergoes a change. Where earlier it was an awakening from darkness into light, having entered into the awakening of full light whenever that happens, or even to whatever degree that happens in between. The movement of evolution as if turns, and the infinite riches awaiting from the transcendence now begin to pour through us into manifestation. We become as if conscious co-creators. We become as if center points of the divine creative movement, and through each one of us the divine reveals himself uniquely, bringing possibilities into creation which didn't exist even before in the universe. And so evolution is still going. You are evolving, bring out new possibilities, but it has a different movement. Mother says it's a top-down evolution rather than a bottom-up evolution. Interesting idea. But as we are going along, each step of our awakening also has the reverse movement of a top-down movement, something new descending, and in each one uniquely. We can hold this vision, align ourselves to it, make conscious effort to remove from ourselves the distortions which come from the ascetic perspectives. The divine for us is intimately close at each moment, and to open to the divine should be the easiest thing and the most joyous thing at each moment.